thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your host, Jason Beck, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us.
Face, Shaun, when you're concentrating.
Yeah.
So mean. I have a really mean resting
she's got
face.
A mean face. And Shaun,
My daughter calls it a resting bitch face.
Well, easy there.
I'm concentrating.
Easy there. We're just starting the show, you guys. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I got a resting
morning,
asshole
guys.
face, so cool.
You guys didn't update the teleprompter. What is going on? What happened? Why did this not happen today? Oh man, hold on, you guys. Jeez Louise. Jeez Louise. Good morning, you guys. It is Wednesday, December 17th. And today is National Say It Now Day. Say it now.
Was that a song or something?
No, you know what it's about? It's about women and wanting to get married. It's like just freaking say it now. That's what it's about. Yeah, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
Who the fuck is saying any of that?
Tons of women are saying that all the time.
I don't think so. I think everybody else. I think everyone's done.
I hear it.
The next.
I hear it all the time. I'm just like, say it now. No, I'm not trying to throw my life away.
Once
Crazy.
you sign the prenup.
Exactly, Dale. Exactly. It's also this is my favorite. And you know what? When we're on a break, I'm gonna go and grab some of this because today is National Maple Syrup Day. Yes.
Pancakes and maple syrup.
Yeah, and I want to give some major love to my cousin in Vermont, right up there at the top of Vermont. You know what I mean? Right next to the Canadian border, and he makes maple syrup. Some of the best maple syrup in the world coming right out of Vermont. American made, 100% USA grade A. You know what I mean? All of that good stuff, Dale.
Trees have their immigration status, right?
Trees. Well, trees are planted on site, so yeah, they're within the confines of the border.
Right.
Yes. And it is also National Wright Brothers Day today, you guys.
Yes.
Right.
First flight.
Yeah, first flight. We're going to take it higher and higher and higher. And on that, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. So welcome to everyone joining us from any one of those platforms. And Dale, I think I have a story that you may actually like. And we are going to end the story on some positive news today, just so you are aware of that. But you know, it's a very interesting little story I have to read for you today, you guys. Are you ready now?
Okay, I'm excited.
Yes. I love it. I love when there is excitement in the air.
Let's go.
All right.
We're on the cliff.
Are there 8x10 color glossies to go with this, or what?
Just palm cards, Dale. Just palm cards.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Well, then here we go. All right. Because New Jersey Senate committee advances a bill to expand labor protections for marijuana workers, and they send it to the full Senate, Dale. A New Jersey proposal to expand labor protections for marijuana industry employees has been approved by the Senate Budget and Appropriations Committee, sending it to the full Senate for consideration. The committee voted 9-4 to advance Assembly Bill 4182, which establishes clear conditions of employment for marijuana workers. The bill is sponsored by State Representatives Wayne D'Angelo, Reginald Atkins, and Annette Culiano, all Democrats. The legislation previously passed the full assembly on June 30th by a 61-19 vote, following earlier approvals for the Assembly Oversight and Labor Committees, and its latest committee approval marks another significant step as it moves through the Senate, you guys. Supporters say the bill is intended to strengthen workplace protections in the New Jersey's marijuana industry, and which has added thousands of jobs since the legalization, but has faced ongoing scrutiny over labor standards and worker rights. And as the regulated market continues to grow, backers argue that clear employment rules will provide greater stability for workers while improving accountability across the industry. The proposal was first introduced in April of 2024 and has steadily advanced through the legislative process, earning favorable votes at multiple stages. With approval now secured from the Senate Budget and Appropriations Committee, the measure is headed to the full Senate, where lawmakers will decide whether to send it to the governor's desk or not. And if enacted, the bill would expand labor protections for marijuana workers and further integrate the state's cannabis workforce into New Jersey's broader labor framework, you guys. Look at that, Dale. I know how you think, and so I know that you're going to like this story and you're going to think it's a great thing. You know what I mean? I think that the unions aren't as good as they say that they are, but nonetheless, I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
Well, it's amazing that someone who works in a lawful business doesn't already have employment protections.
Yeah, right.
I think as we've seen that they were not very forward thinking about putting people into environments where they're exposed to dust.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen that. A couple deaths from that. Yeah,
exactly. Sadly.
So the Occupational Safety and Health Administration has basic rules, but I guess it's good to see them more specifically geared towards, this part of the industry.
Mm-hmm.
It's just there's a transferable for every part of the cannabis industry: agricultural workers, manufacturers, distributors, even retail workers. They all have protections. I'm just curious why they have to have special rules for cannabis, unless maybe they're excluded from certain things if they're working in the industry. That seems.
I mean, because that's what they like to do. They like to hate on us, still. They like to, what I'm saying, rules for thee and not for me. You know what I mean?
Well, and it might also be because of wrongful termination issues, and employers might be trying to terminate for some other reason, but using cannabis use as the excuse.
Mm-hmm.
I have definitely had a contract go sideways, and they tried to use cannabis as the reason. That executive was eventually removed from the company entirely by the board.
He was exiled.
But he tried. Yeah, he was removed.
It's like being on Survivor.
In trying to remove me, he tried to argue that my cannabis consumption was the problem. Joke was on him because I always lead in initial conversations by disclosing that. I'm on YouTube doing a program like this. I live in Texas. I'm a mom. I'm pretty open and transparent about my consumption because it helps to normalize. So when I go into a contract negotiation, that's always one of the first points I mention when I'm working with anyone who isn't in cannabis. So I could see why they would want to come up with specific protection laws if employers are using cannabis as a reason to terminate, technically,
Sounds like the Terminator.
Good if better to like protect yourself and not wait for the state to do it. But not everyone can control their employment, so I get it. And we should make sure that we have good for New Jersey. I get the hesitation with the unions. There's elements of truth on both ends, but it is good that the states are seeking to protect people's right to work and consume either a medication or a nutraceutical supplement. Or
Well, the
even
problem-
after hours, a vice. If it's a vice, if they use it for vice market, if it's something that they use just to get high,
is it really?
It's none of our fucking business.
It's not really a vice when you actually get medical benefits, regardless of whether or not you're consuming
I agree,
it for those
but
purposes.
Even if it is a vice, it's none of your employer's business as long as it doesn't affect your work performance and until they can prove
There's the
it's affecting
problem.
performance. There you go.
Here's the problem right there. Because under traditional law, if you're going to use a medication, you have to have a prescription. You run it through your employer. If you have some reason to take it, they make accommodations for you. When you use a substance that stays in your system for a long time, and they're testing metabolites, now you get into some real delicate areas. Because if they're testing THC levels, okay, that's a different equation than metabolites, but they can't even establish when THC levels make you under the influence so that an employer can or maybe should take action against you. You shouldn't be driving a vehicle under the influence of anything. And that's a problem and concern my clients have who are business owners. It's like, okay, we put somebody out on the road. We have to insure them. They get into an accident. We call it for-cause testing. Let's see what your levels were, if it's any responsibility in there, because the insurance companies want to know. It gets real dicey because, you know, most of us who use cannabis, we're going to have long-lasting effects. It takes me like 6 weeks to get that shit out of my system.
Yeah,
okay?
right.
Does that mean I can't drive a car for 6 weeks? No, kiss my ass.
That's right.
Well, and then there's the other issue is this plant has individual effects. It has individual effects. So what might make someone incredibly high,
Shaun,
I can chain smoke all day and go to DC and sit in a congressional room and have no problem. I could sit there and smoke and talk with them all day, and it wouldn't have an issue. Some people wouldn't be able to do that. Some people are better when they consume. Some people are safer drivers. Maybe they're epileptic. And we're going to have these conversations, especially if we have that rescheduling chat, because we already have medical cannabis. So by default, just assuming consumption equals impairment is moronic. We already know that it doesn't. And we know in some cases, there's no impairment, even when THC is present. Like it stores in your fat. For women, when you exercise, you want to know part of your exercise high, if you consume enough, is that you're also releasing stored THC molecules. You're activating your natural cannabinoid system, and you're releasing whatever's stored in your system.
Keeping all that
you could
THC on
not
reserve.
Smoke that day. Exactly. Like we don't know enough to make arbitrary rules. We honestly need to get a grip as a nation about doing this, because we're just shooting ourselves in the foot nonstop. And it's so I think, at least I can speak for my generation, the older millennials, we are so exhausted by this. Can we move on with the group project already? It's annoying.
I love group projects.
Kevin Sabet's still alive. He's not going to give up till they put him in the grave.
No, that's for sure. That's for sure.
So dumb.
That's for sure. Well, on that, we're going to
And then we're all going to live forever, and they're going to have term limits set to 80, and we're going to all be living to 120, and we're going to
we're not going to have term limits. Term limits are term limits
not
are
term
dumb.
limit, the age limits that everybody wants.
Age gating.
Don't do it, guys.
Yes. And on that, we're going to roll into our first commercial, and we are going to be right back. Oh, and we are back, you guys. And this is a very interesting story. I'm kind of excited about this story. I think that this is, not sure, but I think this is a good story. So let's see. This is because the cannabis CEO, Duke Rodriguez, enters the race for the New Mexico governor's race. That's right. Duke Rodriguez, a Republican, A longtime New Mexico healthcare executive and one of the state's most important marijuana industry figures has officially entered the race for governor. Rodriguez announced his candidacy through a paid newspaper message rather than a formal launch event, saying he preferred to begin engaging voters directly instead of staging a traditional campaign kickoff. He joins a growing Republican primary that already includes State Senator Steve Lanier of Aztec and Rio Rancho Mayor Greg Hull. On the Democratic side, the race includes former U.S. Interior Secretary Deb Haaland and 2nd Judicial District Attorney Sam Bergman, get 'em, bite 'em, and former Las Cruces Mayor Ken Mishigama. Before becoming a cannabis executive, Rodriguez served as the Secretary of New Mexico's Human Services Department under the former Governor Gary Johnson, overseeing programs tied to Medicaid and public assistance. He also held senior leadership roles within New Mexico's healthcare system, and his experience his campaign frames as central to addressing persistent challenges in health access and affordability. Rodriguez is currently president and CEO of Ultra Health, the largest marijuana company in New Mexico, a position that has made him a familiar figure in state policy debates. Under his leadership, the company expanded rapidly during the medical marijuana era and remained a dominant player following adult use legalization, and he has been outspoken on regulatory issues and has not hesitated to challenge state leadership when he believed policy decisions threatened industry stability or patient access. In outlining his platform, Rodriguez emphasized guaranteed health care, expanded nutrition assistance, and broader government reform. He argued that New Mexico's struggles stem less from a lack of resources than from insufficient management, positioning himself as a business-minded candidate focused on execution rather than ideology. I like that. With more than a year until the primary, Rodriguez's entry sets the stage for a competitive race where his deep ties to both healthcare and the marijuana industry are likely to be central themes. Well, I just want to say good luck to this guy. I'm really excited that he's running as a Republican, and I'm even more excited that he's from the cannabis space. And man, maybe we're going to make New Mexico great again, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
I don't think it really matters anymore if you are a business person running a cannabis business or you're running a mechanics business or a hospital.
Mm-hmm.
If people believe your message and you can communicate to them,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what they're most concerned about. And healthcare is about to become just an extreme shit show in Congress in the next couple of weeks. So having that background will help understand. And I think that it's about time people recognize the ideology versus business standpoint. Mm-hmm. That may be where the Republicans make the most ground, because the ideology I've been working with for 25 years just isn't getting laws through legislatures. Okay,
very ineffective, Dale.
Great business acumen and business positions, and you're going to get a lot farther than the rainbows and unicorns and the hog farm ideology. And especially if they go to Schedule 3, all the ideological part of the cannabis industry is going to go. It's not going to survive. It's going to have to be straight business. So I see a trend coming here. And, I've been telling you, my adult years have been a Democrat, but I'm watching what they're doing, and it's hard because they keep running their heads into walls. It's like, you guys learning anything here? No. Hey, this is business. This is business. And if you want the government to get off your back, the business, you go to the government as a business and say, look, this is what we need. This is what we can do. This is what will contribute. Make this a business decision. Get all the other bullshit out of the way. And we're not your ATM machine. We're a business. Treat us like a business.
Did you hear that? Dale said it sounds like he's turned into a Republican. This is great.
I've been trying to warn folks for over a year now on the far left side and in the industry overall that the Republicans would pivot and this would become a strategy, because we saw it here in Texas. And it was through their protection of hemp. Oddly enough, yes, is it very conservative, ultra Christian leaning Republicans who pushed the ban, prohibitionist Republicans who pushed the ban? Yes. But behind the closed doors, most of the party in the Texas ledge was all about figuring out how to properly regulate this. And the difference in conversation with the Democrats is often focused on the social issue of it and not sometimes the tactical execution. They will listen once you start to break things down, but it's not what they lead with. And that's okay. Everyone has their thing. What Republicans do lead with, however, is they've heard from a lot of constituents that it helps them in their everyday life and the small business angle, because they are realizing, like we kept saying, this is a kitchen table issue. Hemp is a kitchen table issue in Texas. And it wasn't something to sneer at if you were a marijuana operator in some other state, because it was a little indicator on this road of how Republicans are going to start to shift the cannabis conversation. And if you think Big Pharma was only allied with Democrats in pushing, I don't want to get into a vax anti-vax conversation.
Why not?
But because it's obnoxious. It's obnoxious.
I'm so here for it, just so you know. I'm here for it.
The tide of political opinion and popular opinion was that Democrats and Big Pharma have largely worked together in lockstep, and they have a lot of the same friends lobbying, etc. And this particular administration has not been the best friend to them, especially with the appointment of a character like Robert F. Kennedy.
So great. So great.
Now that doesn't mean, though, that history doesn't mean shit, because everyone, when money's on the table, and we're talking about lots of money that we can't imagine,
Big
when
dollars.
that kind of money, power, and influence and control of a market is on the table, you make friends with the enemy real fast. It's how you get the deal done. Like, just like the Vanity Fair article.
I always make friends with my enemies, Shaun. Always.
Just
constantly.
like the Vanity Fair article everyone's gushing about right now. We have to remember Condé Nast, Vanity Fair, Condé Nast also did the book deal for The Art of the Deal, which is what got Trump to his early roots of his
I don't know
build around himself.
I don't know about all that.
It was Condé Nast. I'm just pointing out,
Okay.
It's the same media publisher. And if you think that these people don't flip teams, you're mistaken. It's very naive. They do. And what we have seen, what we saw in Texas, is over the course of the year that we lobbied, we saw conservatives largely leaning into, how do we figure this out to keep small businesses open, also to launch their own businesses, also to help all their buddies in all these other spaces get into those businesses.
I love buddies.
And they just want a cut of the same pharmaceutical pie and the adult use market pie. And they are able to campaign on small business because they've always been known as that. And Texas is especially known as a very business friendly state. And so I really think the Democrats better get ahead of themselves if they want to continue to own this issue, because now with Trump announcing potential rescheduling, whether he does it or not, he is leading this conversation and he is setting the tone. And the Republicans are going to capitalize and campaign off of it. And the Democrats are not going to be able to lean on social justice angles as the angle for cannabis exclusively.
Yes, that's true.
Despite how important it is to address that history. And I'm not downplaying any of that. I'm saying you have to do this and that. And if you don't do it, people are looking at numbers and what's going to affect the economy, businesses, and licensing more than they're looking at the unjust incarceration of people for this plan.
It's like that. It's like that song, Shaun.
The reality.
It's like that song, Shaun. Do you remember? You can get with this, or you can get with that. You can get with this, or you can get with that. It needs to be a
yes and conversation. You know what I mean? We don't. We need to get both parties. My whole thing this whole year has been, if in 2026 I can get more candidates saying more positive things about cannabis, either party, then I'm winning. And then we're going to let them mess each other up on the rest of the trail. Well, my job is to make sure that we're advocating for the plant spectrum.
Well, I'm just going
And
to
that
say
we're
this.
advocating also to right those wrongs when it comes to incarceration and the level of insanity that the United States has been under when it comes to prohibition.
So in regards with this guy running, okay, I'm going to just want to just throw out there that I'm going to encourage everyone in the cannabis space to throw some money into this guy's campaign. The fact that he is running for governor as a Republican and is pro-cannabis, I think is a huge, huge push forward for our issue, regardless if you're a Democrat or, you know what I'm saying, whatnot. The point of the matter is that we need to have more Republicans that are based and understand cannabis and understand it as a freedom issue as opposed to an ideology. And so the more support that we can show them, the more Washington and other places are going to be able to have to take a second look at how this all shakes out.
And it's always been my little secret hope, because at the end of the day, I am really proud to be a little American, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I am.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always been my hope that the cannabis can be the regulatory structure and issue where we can start to finally bring people together to have an open, honest, and candid conversation, and not make this about identity politics or all of the other shit. Let's just start coming to the table. This is the mediator in me. Let's just come to the table, guys, and just put everything on the, put it all out there and start figuring out what we want to do here.
Let it go.
Because we have a year to figure this out with the ban and rescheduling. Yeah. Also, Jason, you missed it last week. Sorry about the dogs. They actually last week did the same thing, but
I'm here for it.
They took off and they jumped out the window last week.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Remember to have
window. That's so great. I wish we would have got that on camera. That would have been awesome to show. Yes. Yes, the hurdlers, you know what I'm saying? The hurdling dogs.
No, I was trying to host the show and go to stories, and they flew out the window and
that is awesome. That is awesome. I'm so here for stuff
hilarious.
like that. I'm so here for stuff like that. Shout out to the dogs and the dog race and the, you know what I'm saying, all of that good stuff, all the barking and you know what I'm saying, some canine love. I'm here for that. But on that, we're going to keep this train rolling, and we're going to roll right into attorney at law, Mr. Dale Schafer. Dale has been an attorney since the Reagan administration. He has represented physicians, hospitals, insurance companies, cops, corrections officers, and for the last 25 years, he specialized in cannabis law. He served a 5-year federal prison sentence for helping medical marijuana patients and managed to save his law license. He's blunt. He doesn't smoke them because they're ratchet, they're nasty, they turn your teeth yellow and other things yellow, but he is honest and he's unconcerned with public opinions, your opinion, and anyone else that wants to identify as anything else, their opinion too. And he will tell you how he can defy gravity by pissing up a rope. That's right. He is your favorite Tio Loco, and you can now find him at his own law office at the law office of none other than Dale Schafer.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm back from my jaunt to Montana last week to see the grandkids. My story this week comes out of Marijuana Moment. I must say that after I posted this later in the day, Kyle Yeager, he published another one. And let me chat about the first article he put up. My first article is out of Marijuana Moment by Carl Yeager, dated the 15th, which was Monday. The headline is Marijuana Users Pose a Greater Danger Than Alcohol Drinkers. Trump DOJ tells SCOTUS gun rights case filing. Now, when I read this, I thought this is the same bullshit that was coming out of the Biden DOJ. I was hoping there might be something better, but they're simply not. This was the DOJ's opinion. The Solicitor General filed the brief. The court has accepted the petition for certiorari in the Hamani case, they call it, U.S. versus Hamani, gun rights in a marijuana user case. And what DOJ's new filing has to say is that, weed is more dangerous with a gun than alcohol. I thought, where did you get these facts from? They pull this stuff out of their ass, but it's in an official filing. Okay, and that unlawful drug users are more of a danger than alcohol. Well, okay, yeah, if we're talking somebody bent over at the waist in the Tenderloin in San Francisco under the influence of fentanyl, yeah, I don't want that fucker to have a gun. What are you talking about? If somebody, smoked some pot last night and they're out doing something today and they got their gun, excuse me, but that person is not more dangerous than someone who's been drinking and hungover. Okay, so that's some of this stuff is just absolute factual nonsense. But I was hoping the Trump DOJ would do a better job than the Biden DOJ. And you can wish in one hand, shit in the other. And in this case, we got the same sort of bile coming out of them. It's just stupidity. Now, one of the things they said is that, well, alcohol has been legal since the jump, and it's been legal a lot longer than marijuana. Let's stop for a second. Weed was legal until 1937 when the federal government lied and got it made illegal. Okay, so and alcohol spent from 1920 to 1933 illegal. I don't know what they're trying to say with that. Okay, that's nonsense that alcohol's been legal longer than weed, so therefore, if you've got weed and a gun, you should go to jail. Fuck you. Even a bunch of Republicans in the Congress said, if you can drink and have a gun, you should be able to smoke weed and have a gun. Mm-hmm. Just stop it. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Mm-hmm. He tried to lump in everything that is in Schedule 1 and say, oh, if you use a Schedule 1 drug, then you can't have a gun. Okay, let's back up for a second here. There's been several Supreme Court cases that come out about guns and how the state can restrict your guns, and the Supreme Court has made it very clear. We're going back to 1789 or actually 1791 when the Second Amendment came out. Who could have a gun in those days? What could the state do to restrict it? And they're saying, no, we're not buying all this bullshit. Okay? So a number of these cases came up through the federal system and the district courts took a look at these cases and thought, well, historically, okay, someone who's mind-bendingly drunk, if you've ever watched the old Western show, like Tombstone, you're out in the street shooting up in the air and every place else because you're drunker than Hogan's goat. Yeah. They take your guns away, tell you, sober up. But they didn't take your guns away when you sobered up. And drugs were perfectly legal to use till the 1912 Harrison Anti-Narcotics Act. Mm-hmm. So this is nonsense, is what it is. And when you take a look at the factual basis, I'm going to say I haven't read the brief, so I don't know exactly if they cited any studies. But it brings up my next point, because yesterday, after I posted my story, Kyle came out with another story. Mm-hmm. And on Monday, the amicus curiae, which is what we call Friends of the Court, led by Kevin Sabet and Sam, they filed a brief on Monday. And the headline from Al Yeager was, "Marijuana isn't chill and is actually more dangerous than alcohol. The anti-legalization group held Supreme Court in brief for gun rights case." And that's another truckload of horse shit. Comes right out of Kevin Sabet. The guy's, he probably needs to smoke a little weed, or someone slip him a gummy sometime to chill this dude out. Because they pull stuff right out of their ass. And I can tell you, I have been in heated arguments with psychiatrists about whether smoking weed causes schizophrenia. And these knuckleheads throw it out like it's an established fact. And the problem is that schizophrenia seems to have a genetic component to it. In the psychiatric world, it's nature versus nurture. There's definitely some nature involved in whether you develop schizophrenia. I mean, you can do other things to enhance it, bring it on, but it doesn't cause it. And there are people who are developing early signs of schizophrenia who start smoking weed, okay? And so these knuckleheads with an MD were saying, oh, smoking weed causes schizophrenia. No, take a chill, back up and scratch and sniff here and see if anybody else in their family has it. Were they using it to treat symptoms that were early, psychotic disorders and manifesting themselves? It's an ongoing debate. If you try to say that smoking weed causes psychosis, causes schizophrenia, these other, diseases of the brain, there's no factual support for it. But they throw this shit against the wall, hoping at least some mud will stick. And I think the average person now sees this for what it is. It's nonsense. But if you take a look at the facts of all these substances and you lay out what does it do to you physically, what does it do to you emotionally, what do you do in the world out there when you're under the influence of this stuff, and you start categorizing these things, alcohol is a hell of a lot more dangerous than weed. Okay, let's just be clear. They tried to outlaw it from 1920 to 1933, and people said, yeah, fuck your law. We're going to drink anyway. And so finally, I mean, this was Republican women, so I got to give the chops to Republican women.
Yeah.
In the late 1920s, they stood up to the progressive Democrats that were pushing dry laws everywhere and said, you don't speak for us.
Yep.
You know, and they point out that these senators and congressmen who vote dry in Congress come to my house on the weekend for a party, expect me to get them drunk. Like it's
Hypocrites. Hypocrites.
We have the
Democrats.
same shit going on right now.
It's Karens.
Nonsense. Okay. If you take a look at the actual facts here, none of it supports the arguments these knuckleheads are making. Okay. Now, there's another principle here in the law about constitutionality. We look at, is it the law unconstitutional as it's written or as it's applied? And I think it's 18 USC 992 G3 is the law they're talking about. An unlawful user of a substance and in possession of a gun. I think that's the language or the effective language of it.
I think you're right about that, Dale.
They're trying to say that, oh, if it's a Schedule I drug and we're not going to allow you to do it, but the courts have said, hang on for a second. This is an individual case. If someone is using pot and they're dangerous or they can't be trusted, we want some evidence of that before we take their gun rights away. Okay. And that just threw a turd into the punch bowl for these people. I don't know what to do now because the court's going to make you prove that this person is a danger rather than just accepting everyone who uses a Schedule I drug is a danger. That dog don't hunt because it was put into Schedule I. And I remember when Richard Nixon told us, we're putting it there until we can investigate it and figure out where to put it, because it was taken out of the medical hands in 1937. So in 1970, hey, it's not used medically now. Let's investigate it. We all know that was horseshit now. Never intended to do that. And if you read what it requires to be in Schedule I, there is no way with a straight face you can say weed belongs in Schedule I. This doesn't. So you make the argument, if you use a Schedule I drug, oh, you can't be trusted with a gun. It's like, back up, bitch, because I want some specific facts that prove that for whatever reason you say, I can't be trusted with a gun if I use cannabis. And they don't want that to be the rule. Now, the other problem here that I have with all this is that they need to be using strict scrutiny, and I mean real strict scrutiny, that any gun law that takes weed and guns and says you can't have a gun, that violates the Second Amendment. So if you're going to do that, you'd better be prepared to prove that that law is necessary to protect a compelling state interest, okay? And now I'm listening. Tell me the facts you got to show that taking away guns from weed users is necessary for some compelling state interest. Please tell us what it is. They don't want to do that because then they got to get into the facts they can't support, that it doesn't belong in Schedule I. It never did. In 1972, I think it was, Raymond Schafer was appointed by Richard Nixon to study weed. And when Nixon got the sort of the word that, hey, it's not going to be what you want from this guy, Schafer came out and said, why are you chasing weed? Worth shit. There's not a problem with weed. Nixon lost his mind. And they got the recording and blame it on them goddamn Jew psychiatrists want to make weed legal. Like, oh, hang on for a second. Really? That's why, your argument? Stop it. If you go back and look at all this stuff factually, if we could actually get an honest factual hearing about cannabis, its effects on human beings, and where it should be scheduled, this would all go away, because Evan Sabet, with a straight face, cannot make a real expert argument that cannabis is more dangerous than alcohol. He just can't prove it. He believes it. It's his emotional belief. And because he's got a PhD, he thinks, well, everything I say has got to be believed. No, I've met some PhDs couldn't find their ass with both hands. Okay? I don't care. I got a doctorate degree too. So what? I'll drink a beer with you and have some sauce. I'm going to fuck. Don't impress me because you're a doctor. No, it doesn't impress me. What facts do you have? And that's where they fall short. The other thing I just want to keep pointing out is that I live in California. California has pushed over-regulation, over-taxes to the point where 2/3 of the sales of weed in California are in the trap. So if you think what you're doing is winning, you're so full of shit it's coming out your ears.
Mm-hmm.
This is the situation they found themselves in the late 1920s when everybody knew alcohol's against the law, but you could buy it everywhere you wanted, and the downside was who gives a shit?
Yeah.
We're about at that point now. Okay? And if you've got laws that you can't enforce and 2/3 of the market is in the black market, what are you doing here? This is the definition of insanity. I'd like some of these prohibitions to come forward and say, where is your prohibition working? Please give me facts. Where? How's it working? They don't want to do that. They want to keep throwing out nonsensical bullshit here and hoping that someone will buy it. I think the average person out there, the average citizen and voter, Mary and Joe Dokes, I call them, just goes, you guys are full of it. You know, every one of my friends smokes weed, takes a gummy at night. They're not killing people on the highway. They're not, closing businesses because they're there. No one really buys it anymore unless you have the ideological, emotional belief that weed and drug use is going to ruin Western society. And you can't help those people. But for the rest of us who think logically, like, put on your logical hat here. Let's hope the Supreme Court will put out a rule that will help us deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because right now we don't have it. And I'm really disappointed they didn't take up the Canna Provisions case. That was disappointing because you can only duck this for so long. It's got to be dealt with. But I'm going to throw this back. I can go on in hours about this because it really irritates me that these knuckleheads continue to do this. Because I've been in court where people have brought in just absolute horseshit arguments. I have to watch myself because you can't say horseshit. You can use bovine scatology and a judge might chuckle and they get what you are saying. But this is absolute bovine scatology, okay? And you should not believe it for a second. And if you do, you may want to go see somebody about your delusional mind. I'm gonna throw it back after what you guys have to say.
Well, Dale, they're all wearing Delululemon, Dale. You know what I'm saying? As they're marching around, Just saying. So Dale, this is I think is ultimately the big question, because in your comments you stated that the DOJ is basing their argument around the fact that cannabis is a Schedule I drug. Okay, and so what happens to their argument in this case when all of a sudden they have no argument because the president and the HHS has moved it to a Schedule III? Then they're going to have no argument whatsoever for this case. They're going to be forced to have to dismiss this case, and then all of a sudden we're going to immediately have our gun rights.
Do we think that's partially why they didn't take the case? Is SCOTUS?
Well, SCOTUS is taking this case. SCOTUS is hearing this gun rights case. That's on the agenda. It's the other case
the other case, right? That they wouldn't take the other case, and it indicates, at least to me, that they know a decision is going to come forward.
No, see, I don't think that they know that there's too much turmoil going on between the budget with hemp, between the moving of Schedule III, and they want to see what plays out before they hear any case relating to that.
They know a decision is going to be coming from the administration, and this Supreme Court does not tend to rule over this administration. They will respond, but they don't react. They don't proactively lead in that way.
Now, I was talking
from
with
what I have gathered.
Well, I was talking with someone last night, and they were telling me that they've got wind that the president is going to make this announcement tomorrow. I'm not sure why he would make it on a Thursday. To me, that doesn't make a lot of sense. I would think he would want to make it on a Monday or a Tuesday.
Did you get this information that he would make this announcement? Did you get this information yesterday afternoon or this morning?
I got this information last night.
So I would imagine that whatever he has planned to announce tonight is a separate issue.
Yes. I don't think.
The Vanity Fair
I don't think
article
that. Yeah.
dropped. The Vanity Fair article dropped, and just like it always is, cannabis is the lovely little Band-Aid. We'll get some announcement.
Well, this is the whole thing.
On a weird Thursday, as you have pointed out.
This is the whole thing. This is the whole thing about this. Is with Shaun is what I can. I don't think it's going to happen on Thursday. I think it'll probably happen. I think it'll probably happen next week. Probably next Monday. You know what I'm saying? That way, there's plenty of news to talk about going through Christmas, and that people will be kind of focused on that and whatnot. Okay. Now,
we'll
in a story that we covered on Monday, okay. He's also saying that once he moves it to Schedule 3, that he's going to create a descheduling commission. And so
I think whatever you get on.
Well, hold on. Let me finish.
Let me just hot air.
Let me just finish my thought first, Shaun. So
go for it. I'm sorry.
All right. So once Trump, and I've said this on the other episodes, but I want you guys to hear this too, is that in reality, there's so many problems with Schedule 3. And so he's going to say, we're going to move it to Schedule 3. It's going to be a big win for everybody. Then as they go through the process, they're going to create this descheduling commission. They're going to notice all of the flaws with Schedule 3 and how it doesn't actually work for the modern system of how it's set up in all these different state markets and whatnot, which is going to make it a perfect transition for Trump to come in and save the day and deschedule cannabis in October of 2026 as the October surprise, you guys. And
so
hold on, Shaun. I'm not done. I'm almost wrapping it up. My last point on this is that I think the reason that this is going to happen, the move to Schedule 3 is going to happen before Christmas, is because everybody wants it to be in effect, in essence, or to have happened, and then by then, so then that way it will affect possibly their 2025 year's taxes. And it's because we're getting ready to close out the fiscal year. And that's a big component to all of this as well.
Well, here's Jason. Actually, I agreed with you all the way up until October surprise, which is why you don't usually see me flipping out too much.
I love when you girls flip out.
I flipped out about the Texas medical licensing, and I feel like that was justified. I haven't flipped too much about the hemp ban or rescheduling, and for a reason. Exactly what you illustrated. I see rescheduling, if you look at it from the administration or government's perspective, no matter how you slice it, the next logical progression in this conversation or negotiation would be a step down to rescheduling and then a step down from there. And I do think that they hate the word deschedule, and that's why hemp is on hold.
That's why they're going to have a descheduling commission.
Yeah.
They love commissions.
Folks, right.
You ever watch the commish?
We'll find out. Either way, I would agree that I think low dose hemp or some kind of deal with hemp is on the horizon, and then some kind of deal for medical cannabis that can be pharmaceuticalized is as well. And then we'll see what they do in the in-between. I think everyone's knee-jerk reaction when it comes to reschedule is that it does set us up legally. On the deschedule side, it does put you in a really, and on the operator side, it still keeps you in a really bad position, especially legally, because now you've agreed to something you don't know if it's going to change. You're hoping that it does, and you have no fucking clue if it will. But I would agree, if they've got the right people in the room, those people should, it's not rocket science. You have to learn from every other state market. When the government tries to get into the cannabis game and they try to create this limited structure, they get eaten alive by hemp and illicit operators, the traditional market.
Because they're man-eaters.
If they're going to do this right, they need to learn from all of that and be smart about it, create a structure that will support what they want to do with pharmaceutical grade cannabis and future innovations there, what they want to do with small businesses and but open licensing scheme through hemp, because you don't have to have limited licensing and it doesn't have to be ridiculously expensive. We've seen that here in Tejas. And how can you optimize those systems that you have in states like Colorado, California, and half of the United States where they're using metric or things that aren't working and are actually leading to diversion issues? Like, if we do this federal move, the conversation should shift from instead of preventing diversion, how can we encourage interstate commerce and start looking at this as an American commodity that we can export out? As it relates to gun rights, my biggest concern or my hope is that they will start to realize perhaps gun rights should be, as Dale mentioned, cannabis impairment determined on an individual basis. Your access to a weapon, maybe also we should come up with a more nuanced process. Without restricting people's rights to have access, we do need to have a very real conversation about how many unhinged individuals can shoot up the place. We have a problem, honey. Let's talk about it. So we got to figure this. We got to figure this
the
out,
solution to that, Shaun, is more guns. More guns, more people with guns, so that way you can take these people out. Pow, pow, pow.
I will say no, because the problem is too many people think they are rational and can use logic and common sense when put in a very difficult, life-threatening situation, and most of them cannot. Most of them imagine, and I think you would agree, that on the left and the right, we have a level of delusion and perceived threat that is not actually real. Perceived threat that is not real, that people act upon. And that when you give all of those people guns, it becomes dangerous. I'm saying that I'm saying that as someone who loves my 2A, but I also, one of my more personal and big concerns is part of why I got into mediation is because I saw what happened in cases of domestic violence. And
women, I think, should definitely have guns, especially for domestic violence. They should be, popping these fools. Pow, pow, pow.
I completely agree. And I will say, in a majority of those cases, what I don't see is violent cannabis consumers. That's not the pattern I frequently see. What I do see is alcohol abuse and the propensity for escalation of violence, especially with firearms. So, yes, I do have some big concerns, but also women and individuals being threatened by others have the right to self-protect and self-medicate using cannabis.
Let me just make the statement about Trump descheduling or rescheduling.
Yeah.
Every one of those groups that joined in the amicus brief are going to file a declaratory relief action and injunctive relief to stop Trump doing it by executive action.
He can't do it by executive action. He can't do it.
Well, okay, so how is he proposing to do it?
He's going to do an executive order directing HHS and DEA to go through this process to get this thing done. That's how that's going to happen.
Well, and Congress did give the Department of Justice
and HHS
regulations and HHS.
Yep.
This is how you have to do it.
Yep.
That's why Biden started that way. So any executive order is going to be immediately challenged. It's a process they're going to start. And I'm just telling you, I've been inside law enforcement, and the anti-legalization forces inside law enforcement are not going away.
I'm not saying that they are either. I agree with that. I totally agree with you on that. But at the same time, we need our law enforcement focusing on actual law enforcement as opposed to having this as a tool in their toolkit for asset forfeiture. We need them actually out there fighting crime and not dealing with nonviolent offenses. That's what we ultimately need.
Yeah, I always want to laugh at the cops who are like marijuana because, listen, I don't want to be a jackass, and I'm not going to say like I saw some shit when I was in Afghanistan. I had a relatively nice deployment, and it wasn't too eventful. Even so, when cops are going all spaghetti Western on cannabis, I just know that they are trying to hold on to their glory days. They're living in the past.
I love me some glory
days. They
days.
haven't done shit because there are way bigger, way better cases. If you want to be a fucking cop and go get some bad guys, there's plenty of real bad guys to go get out there. And that's who you should be gunning for. Lots of bad hombres
out there. That's right.
It makes me laugh. Like, how it feels like an alpha peacock bullshit thing where you're like, you gotta go get the bad guys. And I'm like, you mean grandma with her CBD? What the hell is wrong with you? You mean the business owners who have products on the shelves and an open storefront? Those guys who are easy to find?
They're bad actors. They're selling to children.
It's so ridiculous.
They're selling to the kids.
Come on, just admit that you can't do a pull-up and go Retire already. It's
But they're selling
ridiculous.
to the kids.
I have represented beat cops, and I know some of them now. I talked to them about this. They don't give two shits about people smoking weed. Okay? And in California, it's a misdemeanor soaking wet. They're not worried about it. But when you get up to level of policymakers, I've been in the room with them, and these guys, they're typically men. They come from the Narcotics Officers Association, and they were narcotics cops, and they drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
This is going to ruin the world. And trying to break through these son of a bitches. I mean, I've tried. And I get along with cops well, even though they threw my ass in prison. I still get along with them well. And we have honest discussions like, what the fuck are you doing? You cannot enforce these laws. Why would you keep doing that? And they don't have a good logical explanation for why. It's just my mama told me, or my experience, this is bad. I don't give a, intelligent people take new facts and readjust their beliefs, okay? Because that's thinking logically.
I do
This is
that all
not
the
a
time.
logical discussion. This is about people who their butt puckers up when you talk about drugs, and too many of these people are in charge. Breaking through that is a tough thing. I mean, the friends I've got who are beat cops, like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Smoking weed, that ain't my problem. I'm looking for people who are using violence, will steal, okay, who crap like that. That's the people who want off the street. Someone smoking a joint. If you're out in the streets, like, just fucking put it out. Stop it. They just send them on their way.
Fair enough.
But not the entire country thinks that way. So just remember, there's a lot of really ingrained emotional beliefs in these folks, and it's going to be a battle. Everyone who signed on for that amicus brief, just remember who these are. There's a list. Look at Kyle's new article today. I didn't post it, but there's a whole list of them.
Well, you should cover that tomorrow, and we'll go into this more tomorrow, Dale.
Yeah, I'll post it, and we'll talk about it tomorrow.
Sounds good.
Because this is nonsense, and I don't care. It's like talking to a wall, to these people. And at the end, they shot Nick. They nod their head a lot, and at the end of the day, they go out and do what the hell they were always doing. And it's so frustrating because the average person does not believe what they're saying.
And on that, we are going to roll into our next commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Every legend has a humble beginning.
In world news, leaders are gathering today for the annual summit.
I want to tell you something, Che. The government is watching us through the television.
Oh, John.
Look, right there. They're trying to hack into my TV box.
We're still not able to hack into the TV box, sir.
Ha! But they can't.
I've rebuilt the entire electronic system, and it sends and receives signals through quantum phase space. They'll never get in. Engage target.
In other news, local authorities are investigating a series of strange atmospheric phenomena reported by residents.
Ma'am, we're with the federal government. We need to ask you some questions.
John?
Is there a problem? We've been trying to penetrate your TV box for over 6 months.
I told you they were trying to watch us through the TV, but you didn't believe me.
We can't get in, and to be frank, we have no idea what you've created.
Yeah, that's the point. It's called privacy. You know what the Fourth Amendment guarantees?
All we know is that we can't get inside. We want to know if you can create one for us.
QUX. Even the government wants one.
Jerkus, you're full of shit then.
Hey, Jason stepped away for a second, but don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. You are here with us at High at Night News. We are gonna hop right back into our commercial break.
Introducing QUX Pay, or simply the Pay app.
Where you can pay like it's nobody's business.
Because it isn't. It's what everyone's been clamoring for. It's finally here.
Secure every payment. Your data stays private. QUX will never sell your data for profit, period. Pay friends, family, contacts instantly. No hidden fees. No limits. Spend on the move.
With this patented technology, you can use debit, credit, bank transfers, cash cards, and even crypto completely offline.
Amounts transferred through the Pay app reach their destination instantly. Transfers in a flash. as quick as sending a text. No more waiting around like crypto. Are you ready for the future of payments? The state of the art for money is finally here.
Data privacy and security protocols trusted by militaries and banks worldwide. QUX Pay, the Pay app.
Available as an app and point of sale system, personal and corporate accounts available. Go to QUXPay.com and start using the Pay app today.
Shaun. Oh, and I'm back. Did you do the promo?
We did.
Okay.
We did.
Okay, perfect. I just want to make sure too that we're reminding everybody to make sure that they're following us on X and Rumble. YouTube is not the most stablest platform, and so if you ever can't find us on YouTube, make sure that you are following us on X and Rumble, because you will always find us there every day, 7 days a week, or 5 days a week. 5 days a week. Easy there. Almost started to overwork myself.
I will agree, after receiving feedback in the comments, to try to make sure I don't light up on air anymore. Maybe I'm not helping. I just can't help it.
Well, on that, we are going to roll right into Miss Shaun Salvaje. She's a mom. She's a veteran, and she's a mediator. Maybe those mediating skills help out in her parenting skills, but the world may never know. It is none other than Miss Shaun Salvaje.
Oh, the world knows, because I use both the mediating and parenting skills in all of my work in cannabis.
And at the end of the day, they're all kids, right, Shaun?
It's like kindergarten class. It is, honestly. So my story today, I am absolutely in love with. It comes from Booth du Jour. They are quickly becoming one of my favorite editorial news outlets. Trump rescheduling cannabis, what this actually does, and who it screws anyway. I am not going to have to editorialize this article at all, because they wrote it so beautifully. So we're just going to go straight from them. Booth du Jour, from them, the only publication that doesn't kiss True Leaves' ass on the daily. America is about to celebrate moving weed from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, just like we stormed the Bastille, when in reality, we rearranged the deck chairs on the Titanic and called it reform. Let's break it down. Who wins, who gets nothing, and who gets actively fucked. What does this mean? What this does for the legal cannabis market? Short answer, it helps balance sheets, not people. The only real win, 280E relief. Schedule 3 nukes IRS code 280E, which means cannabis companies can fully deduct rent, payroll, marketing, utilities, basic business expenses. Horrifying that we didn't have those. Translation, multi-state operators stop hemorrhaging cash like they're being punished for selling plutonium instead of flour. Who benefits most? MSOs, private equity, CFOs who haven't slept since 2018. Who doesn't? Small operators drowning in state fees, legacy growers, social equity license holders already hanging on by dental floss. This is not legalization. This is a tax break for companies that survive the war, not the casualties. Number 2, what does this do for state-by-state legal markets? Nothing. Structurally, zero. Zilch. No interstate commerce, no federal protection, no banking overhaul, no national market. Every state still operates like its own weird weed fiefdom. Missouri, still Missouri. California, still lighting money on fire. New York, still pretending rollout delays are intentional. If anything, Schedule 3 locks the current mess in place. States keep regulating, feds keep hovering like a cop at a high school party. 3, what this does for prisoners currently locked up. Here's where the laughter dies. Abso-fucking-lutely nothing. No automatic releases, no sentence reductions, no mass clemency, no retroactive relief. Schedule 3 does not mean, oops, sorry about those decades in a cage. It means, this is medicine now, you were just early. If you're in prison for weed today, this policy watches you rot and keeps walking. Number 4, what this does for people with past convictions. Again, nothing automatic. No federal expungement, no clearing of records, no job protection, no housing relief. You still fail background checks. You still get denied loans. You still get to explain a plant to HR like it's 1997. The irony, you can now buy federally accepted medicine at a dispensary, but still lose a job for having touched it before the government caught up. Number 5, what this does for drug testing and employment. Welcome to the dumbest timeline. Weed is Schedule 3, but employers can still fire you. Federal contractors still test. DOT still doesn't care. Payroll officers still love peanuts. So yes, weed is medicine, but it's also career poison. Totally normal system. No notes. Number 6, the real subtext nobody wants to say out loud. This isn't justice, reform. This isn't legalization. This isn't compassion. This is a political optics move. Tax tweak dressed as progress. A way to say we did something without doing the hard part. It helps companies stay alive. It helps politicians campaign. It helps no one already crushed by prohibition. Bouffe du jour, bottom line. Rescheduling weed is like admitting, yeah, okay, it's not heroin. But refusing to apologize, release prisoners, fix records, or actually end the war you already lost. The house is still burning. You just changed the label on the fire extinguisher. So sure, let's laugh, because if you don't, you'll realize the punchline is still millions of people being punished for something the government now sells with loyalty points.
I love loyalty points. I'm a loyal customer, you know what I'm saying?
They did a damn good job.
Yeah, this was a great piece.
All that needs to be said.
This was a great piece, but here's the part that they didn't mention, Shaun.
Tell me more, Jason.
All right, none of these people. Everyone's like, "Oh, we're gonna get 280E relief. We're gonna get 280E relief." Guess what? You guys are dreamers.
Oh.
Ain't none of you guys getting that. You know why? No. You know why they're not, Shaun? Because the only way that they're gonna get 280E relief is if they can complete a DEA license, and the DEA is not going to issue any of these people a license for this. Not a chance, which is another reason why there's going to be an October surprise in 2026 of a full descheduling by the Descheduling Commission. So
I'm going to laugh if they turn all of the state programs, the state marijuana programs, into hemp. And
oh, that would be awesome.
I'm just going to laugh. I think
that would be great if they did that.
I honestly think that's what they're going to do, and it worries me because I think they're going to try to make some play for low-dose hemp and probably 5 to 10 milligram per serving cap. Hopefully no package caps. We got to talk to them about that on the hemp side. We need to set it up on that. We need to prime conditions on the hemp side to make sure if they do decide to go that route instead of a full deschedule, if they want to keep playing the multiple different duality of legal definitions game, then they'll redefine total THC to create a low dose hemp, and that's what they'll give to the general market, reserving high doses for medical licensees, pharmaceuticals, and the monopolies or oligopolies and themselves.
Yeah, love a monopoly.
And then as far as flower, I don't even know. Hopefully they'll put it.
Not going to happen.
Not going to happen. Not a chance. Not a chance. You know,
and I think they'll use the flower to keep enforcing. What worries me is that with the Schedule 3 move, before if you were trapping the Schedule 1 substance, that had certain implications. The penalties for trapping Schedule 3 substances, because it's a pharmaceutical, are actually a lot more severe.
They're more severe, exactly. And then that eliminates all of these decriminalization efforts that have happened in all of these different states, because it's a whole different type of substance.
It's a whole new framework.
You're right about that part, Shaun.
I'm worried about that part. That's
even the dogs know what's up.
That's right. That's what's up, Saoirse. Even that's how you, and I'm only pointing it out. People are like, people love to be in the comments being like, I'll say anything for a media moment. But I like to point this shit out because I'm a veteran and our job is to forecast contingencies and look ahead. I'm trying to help everyone look ahead. And what I see as the most currently viable route, given the circumstances and the players, is a capped hemp market to solve that problem, keep it in a majority of storefronts. That eliminates illicit competition, keeps the people quiet and happy. It would operators at a certain level. Happy. I'm not going to speak for Cornbread Hemp, but
keep all the people happy.
I would imagine operators like Cornbread Hemp would sign on to something like that. I don't want to speak for them. I don't speak for them, but we already saw the 5 milligram bill pass. And The reason I feel like this is the behavior is because I already saw the pattern in Texas. This is exactly how our lobbying went.
You know, Shaun,
we started here, and then we got to 10 megs, and then we got to Abbott vetoing.
You know what, Shaun? I know how this movie ends because I've seen it far too many times.
Yeah.
Yes. Different people playing different roles. You know what I'm saying? Just as time, it just evolves, but it's always the same. It's always the same script. And shout out to Brian Dombrowski in the chat who says, love this story. Most of these articles are like watching CNN during the Trump and Harris election. So entertaining. So good, you guys. Oh man, you know, and I do with you. You know, I think that would be.
What someone was saying 2025. I'm sorry, Jason.
No, go ahead.
Someone was saying 2025 is the year of petty. We started with Kendrick, Not Like Us, and we're ending with this Vanity Fair and 50 Cent Diddy documentary.
Oh, the Diddy documentary is good. The Diddy documentary is good.
Apparently was petty. So
it's
put on your
you know
Pretty
what?
and Petty by Cardi and dance it up, guys, because we are running into 2026 like a bull in a china shop.
If correct me if I'm wrong too, but it's also like the year of the snake, and it's the year about exposing shit, and that's why we've been exposing so much shit. And you know who called that out first?
Let's go, Jason.
You know who called that out first? Yeah, you know who called that out first? Cat Williams. Cat Williams, he said all of these people are going to get exposed this year. All of these people. He did that at the beginning of 2025. You know, so shout out to Cat Williams.
And we had Cat.
Yes.
Overall, for the year of shade, I'm going to have to give general population a thumbs up. Good job, guys.
Yeah.
Cat, Kendrick, the 50 Cent, and whether you like them or not, this Vanity Fair article is giving life those photos, photojournalism. Of a mastery, a level of mastery that has yet I missed this. This feels like
Vanity Fair
journalism.
Sean is nothing more than Vanity Fair.
The photojournalism.
There's no such thing. That's not real.
Listen,
it's not a real thing.
The photos just speak for themselves.
Those are just photos. It's not journalism. It's not photojournalism. If that was the case, it's called hieroglyphics.
Is giving like a level of mastery I haven't seen in a very long time. I really love that part of it, at least.
Let me just say plainly, if we're expecting the government to fix this, these guys could fuck up. You're
screwed. Exactly. Okay? So right about that, Dale.
And
it's true.
We pointed to all the issues going on here, and every one of them's going to have a lobbying group pushing for their issue against somebody else's. And it seems intellectually to be so easy to fix, but inside the government beltways, we don't even get information about why somebody makes a decision they make, because it gets twisted all kinds of ways. But to expect them to follow a logical train of thought, remove this from the Controlled Substances Act, put it into something like ATF, come up with minimal regulations, a minimal tax, and just get out of the way like they do with alcohol, that's like asking them to design a horse and they hand you a fucking giraffe. That's what my experience has been. And I've been doing this for a very long time. I have lost faith in the government being able to do shit. We still haven't gotten to a point where we have all their economic problem in Washington because they're fighting over extending Obamacare. And it's like, we need to listen to us. We got problems here. And it's like, nobody's going to give us a lot of traction when they're fighting about shit like that. It's just, I'm frustrated. I'm just getting old and cranky.
I'm with you, Dale. They need to repeal Obamacare. That's what they need to do. They need to repeal that whole thing. And on that, we're going to roll into our final commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Oh, man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, you know? But I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility. So you know you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where am I even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Tested It's not a name, it's a promise.
Be mad at me for using it.
Yeah, that's big Texas right there, you guys. And well, while we're talking about hemp, you guys, I have a hemp story for you. And the Illinois hemp industry supports nearly 13,500 jobs and $2.7 billion with a B dollars in revenue, an analysis finds. That's right. Illinois' hemp-derived cannabinoid industry employs nearly 13,500 workers statewide and generates an estimated $2.7 billion with a B dollars in annual revenue, according to a new economic analysis examining the potential effects of restrictions or bans on hemp-derived product sales and production. A newly released economic analysis finds that Illinois' hemp-derived cannabinoid industry has grown into a multi-billion-dollar economic engine, and that proposed restrictions or outright bans, such as the one currently being considered by the Chicago City Council, would likely result in widespread business closures, job losses, and declining state and local tax revenues. The report, prepared by Whitney Economics and released on December 15th, examines survey data from Illinois hemp retailers, manufacturers, and distributors collected in March of 2025. According to the analysis, roughly 1,014 businesses support hemp-based retail activities across the state, generating more than $2.7 billion in total revenue when retail, wholesale, and manufacturing activities are combined. The broader economic impact tied into those operations is estimated at $6.5 billion with a B dollars statewide, with approximately $169.1 million flowing to state and local governments through various taxes. Employment figures outlined in the study underscore the sector's footprint. Excluding cultivation, the hemp-derived cannabinoid industry employs nearly 13,500 workers in Illinois and pays more than $545 million annually in wages. Retail accounts for roughly 4,750 jobs, while wholesalers employ about 6,300 workers and manufacturers another 2,500, reflecting Illinois' role as a regional distribution hub for neighboring states. Chicago alone accounts for a sizable share of that activity, and the city is home to approximately 220 identified hemp retailers, which collectively generate about $475 million in annual sales with CBD products, adding an estimated $30 million more. And retail sales taxes from those businesses bring in roughly $31 million per year from the city, in addition to between $5.0 million and $7.5 million in licensing fees. Retail employment in Chicago is estimated at between 1,030 and 1,250 workers, earning more than $37 million in wages, you guys. Look at that. Big Illinois putting up some numbers and making some calls, and they're considering banning this stuff, and maybe this will help them see the light. And I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
They started walking that back. They already, Chicago delayed their...
All of a sudden they thought they were Michael Jackson doing the moonwalk.
Oh.
Yeah. See?
This, I love Bo. I love Bo from Whitney Economics. He does these studies, and part of one of my assignments when we were trying to defeat the hemp ban was looking for all of these studies and compiling it. When you put the listen, and I don't want people to be triggered when I say marijuana.
I do.
But I know you do. I know y'all love the triggering, and I cannot sit for it. It's not, and I understand the historic for everyone who loves to lecture me on the historical implications. I'm Mexican American. I live in Texas. I understand the history.
Thought it was Tejas.
Marijuana. I understand the history of the word, and that's why I specifically use it, because those structures, those regulatory structures in what you call regulated states, assuming hemp is not regulated, even though it is, what you call you call yourselves generally cannabis, but I specifically say marijuana because your regulatory structures were designed off of marijuana prohibition. Hemp, I understand the frustration. I totally get it, but it came off 2018 Farm Bill. It's a different structure. They're both cannabis. So when we look at marijuana and hemp, we combine them, we have the cannabis industry. And when you look at the overall value, bringing it back to the article, when you start to piece together the billions that each state is actually bringing in and comparing the two. You can look at the licensing revenue and tax revenue in states like California and Colorado that have designed these marijuana regulatory structures and tax structures. And then you can look at the businesses and the general revenue. It typically goes to general revenue because it's hemp and it hasn't been so specifically defined. The money goes to general revenue. Look at that and the amount of taxes hemp operators do pay their taxes, business taxes, and you compare the two.
Some of them do.
You can see that one, the industry, damn, we're kicking. Yes, are we all like stressing out and is everyone losing their fucking mind as the government keeps jerking us around the block by a chain? Absolutely. It's this is a not for the weak of mind or heart, but we're really kicking ass in sales, guys. I mean, it really is. And then if you factor in traditional market, you just see America wants to just smoke its weed, for the love of God. Let's move on already. Congratulations to Illinois. Hopefully they are starting to see the value of both markets and how we need to be really smart as a union of states and how we approach this federally. Because there's a lot of money on the table and there's so much more to be made. Imagine if we could take our best of the best and start exporting it.
Speaking of
intentionally.
Speaking of money, Shaun, speaking of money on the table, Brian Dombrowski threw in a big old super chat. So thank you so much, Brian. He says, love to see more and more positive hemp news. Voices are being heard now, and no way that BSCR language sticks. Hemp is here to stay, he says.
I think that the legislators should take a good hard look at what hemp did and what the regulated cannabis market did. Because one of them took off with little to no regulation. There weren't a lot of, there weren't blood in the streets. Kids weren't jumping out of buildings. Okay, and then look at the disaster in the regulated legal market. And so which would you choose? If you want to set up a market where you're going to have people get what they want with this little involvement of the government, raise taxes, make sure it's a safe product, okay? Look at the hemp market. They just cleaned the legal market's clock because people didn't want to have to go in there and buy something. Oh, a kid might find a kid finds every goddamn packaging attractive, okay? No kid has died from this, all right? They're not stealing their, I mean, my kid stole my weed, and it's like, okay, well, they're going to steal your weed. It's what happens, all right?
That's right.
Like,
don't leave it out. Don't leave it out where they can find it.
Yeah, my grandparents owned liquor stores.
No.
Trust me. Atomic bomb, I took a couple shots of that growing up too, okay? But you cannot factually put in front of legislators the death and destruction that Sam and these other fucking mental midgets are throwing at you.
The mental midgets.
You take a look at the economics here. If you just get out of the way, this goes forward and you just don't have cops going, oh, this is a disaster. No. Emergency rooms aren't full of people overdosing on weed. No, it's not there. Stop the hysteria. And let's have a discussion like we're in the Wharton School of Economics. Which model works? And why would you choose one that's hyper-regulated, hyper-taxed, that doesn't fucking work and is promoting the trap over one where, hey, you can go into your local Stop and Rob and you can buy a bottle of booze and, oh, here's an intoxicating hemp product. They're flying off the shelves. Why can't we look at that honestly and go, let's make up some rules that do what people want us to do? We're supposed to be sort of democratically running this country. This is just nonsense.
I'm really just excited.
You know what?
Oh, go ahead, Shaun. Go ahead, please.
Well, to Dale's point, what I found, and listen, guys, I get everybody's, and some folks are tired of Texas. The last year in the Texas legislature was unprecedented, not just as it relates to cannabis legislation and that fight, but also legislation, period. We all saw it. And I'm trying to share what we learned in that microcosm because we, as a nation, tend to repeat the same mistakes on a federal level. And we have President Trump is in office, is Republican, very close to Governor Abbott. Whatever is happening here, there's no doubt in my mind they're going to have a conversation out there on it. So we should probably have that conversation too. And when you do what Dale said, when you bring in these reports like Whitney Economics provides and others, you can start to have a more progressive conversation. It wasn't a very far left-leaning Democrat in the Senate, in the Texas Senate, who put forward our cannabis legalization and decriminalization bills. He's a more moderate and conservative Democrat. And it was running for attorney general, not always the sexiest of positions. And so we were able to highlight, because that's exactly what we did. We had a huge spreadsheet where we mapped out all of the different markets, how they designed their regulation. And I'm not saying all of this to knock operators in those markets, because I'm not saying that you couldn't have succeeded. You would have been exactly what we are if you didn't have all of those hurdles in your way. And illustrating that and showing lawmakers, here's the policy decision that your colleagues have made on both sides of the fence, and this is the result that it's led to. When you can just calmly do that and not get too deep into editorializing or making it about anything else, you can make so much more progress than going in off the cuff, argumentative, and solely on social issues. Yes, there's a place for that, because look, Mondami, right? But the thing about Mondami is that he's
gonna screw you guys
whether you
over
like
so
him
bad.
or not, whether you like, and President Trump even said, I really like that guy.
That was antics, and that's
total, what he said.
Wordplay.
That's what he said.
Cause.
And I do think the reality is, when you have someone who can bring facts and a level of calm to the storm in the room, in the conversation, people from both sides want to talk to that person, understand what they know, because no one wants to make an ill-informed decision, especially if they're looking to corner a market. They all want to know what could possibly chop them at the knees. Let them know this is what will fuck you over. It's really, it really can be so simple. We need to come back to a place of like calm dialogue and logical conversation. And yes, there's a space for emotion, and there is definitely a space for hearing each other out and righting wrongs. And we need to move to a place where we can start negotiating what's next, because we can't stay in, Dale, you know this one. It's like couples who are going through divorce. You can't stay in the heat of the argument forever. We need to make progress. This has been exhausting. Like the children, America, ready to move on.
Yeah, but who's the therapist for these fighting people? That's the problem I keep running into.
That's why you have to be subliminal, Dale. That's why you got to be subliminal.
You've got to bring logic into it, Shane. It just doesn't work, because there's so many emotional beliefs going on here. And right now, the best plow we have to get this done is a purely economic model. Let's take a look at what makes money and what works, what creates the least amount of problems out there for people. And it's pretty clear what that is. The hemp market demonstrated to them, if you get the hell out of the way and let this thing go and have minimal restriction, it works better. And that's the lesson. It's like, we can do all the charting we want and all the Venn diagrams you want, but the middle of the logic here is get the hell out of the way. Let this run like a business, and especially like alcohol. Alcohol is way more dangerous, but people are willing to accept it because we couldn't prohibit it. We're at the point now where, I don't know if people understand this, you could come out and say, we're going to make, the use of marijuana a capital offense, and they still couldn't stop people from using it. There aren't enough cops in the whole country. So can we stop playing around with this and look at it logically? And the answer is probably not. But I'd like to see that.
But we are getting better, Dale. That's what I'm trying to tell you. We are getting better. It takes 7 to 12 exposures of a concept for people to really grasp it, and that's why I'm going to say just my final thoughts for the day. Unless we have one more story.
I have one more. I have one final story. I have one final story. Yes,
but that's why it's so important on the hemp side and on the cannabis side, marijuana side. This is why it's important to continue reaching out to your legislators and developing a rapport and conversation with them, not just in the heat of the moment when we have a vote, but all through the next 2 quarters, especially, because they're going to be campaigning and building policy and looking at the drama in the fall. Help them build the best structure, and then let them have at it. Let the two boxers go at it in the ring. Don't get in the
I love to
middle of that.
box. I love to box.
But give them all the materials. Don't stop talking to your legislators on the state level and the federal level.
So on that, I have one final story, but I did have a couple things that I did want to state before I go into that. First of all, I do want to thank you, Shaun, for filling in for me while I was in Florida last week. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I know the audience appreciates it. I got a number of different messages from different people or whatnot.
It was super fun.
So
it was really fun.
Thank you so much. And so Shaun will be replacing me on times when I actually can't make the show. I do try to make sure that was the first time in 4 years that I couldn't be able to be in studio to make it for you guys. And it is always a challenge to make sure that I have somewhere to be able to do this at. So shout out to all the people that have helped out over the years to make sure, especially Catalyst, for a period of time as well. So we want to give much love to them. But since today is National Maple Syrup Day, this is a bottle of maple syrup, grade A from Vermont, USA made and extracted right in the USA. It was actually made by my cousin. My cousin actually makes maple syrup, and he sells a majority of his maple syrup to a big bulk producer. So, it's possible that you've bought it in some other brand or bottle somewhere, but let me know, because I can get you these bottles, okay, on the low, you know what I mean? And basically he keeps the cream of the crop, the grade A. Basically all the top buds go into these little bottles of maple syrup right here. And it is the grade A. It is the best maple syrup in the world. Better than any Canadian source, any bottle you'll ever buy in America. Coming straight from Vermont, the great Green Mountain state in Vermont. Pure maple syrup on this magico maple syrup day, you guys. So, and on that, I have one final story for you guys. Shout out to maple syrup, and of course, shout out to this new coffee cup. Do you guys like this? I think it's hysterical. It's a little girl crying, and she says, "Daddy called me a Democrat." It's so good, you guys. Well, my final story for you guys, and I told you we were going to end on a good note today, because there is a bipartisan bill in the state of Washington that would allow terminal patients to use medical marijuana in hospitals and hospice settings, you guys. That's right. A bipartisan proposal pre-filed today for Washington's 2026 legislative session would require hospitals, nursing homes, and hospice care centers to allow qualifying terminally ill patients to use medical cannabis while receiving care. The bill, House Bill 2152, was pre-filed for introduction in the 2026 session, which begins in January. It is sponsored by State Representatives Shelley Kolba, a Democrat, and Skylar Rude, a Republican, signaling bipartisan support for expanding patient access to medical cannabis in healthcare settings. Under the proposal, beginning January 1st, 2027, licensed hospitals, nursing homes, and hospice care centers would be required to establish policies allowing the medical use of cannabis by qualifying patients with terminal conditions. The legislation is intended to promote comfort and dignity for patients near the end of life while maintaining safety and order within the medical facilities. The bill outlines several conditions facilities must include in their policies. Smoking or vaping marijuana would be prohibited even if those methods are the patient's usual form of use. But medical cannabis use would need to be documented in the patient's medical records, and patients would be required to provide valid medical authorization. Responsibility for acquiring, administering, and removing cannabis would rest with the patient or designated provider, not with a staff facility, or not with a staff of the facility. And the proposal also bars healthcare workers, including physicians and nurses, from administering cannabis and prohibits sharing cannabis among patients or visitors. Any remaining product would have to be removed upon discharge or disposed of according to medical waste procedures if removal is not possible. Facilities would not risk losing licensure for failing to comply, and the bill includes provisions allowing temporary suspension if federal authorities take enforcement action, and the legislation would not apply to emergency departments or patients receiving emergency care. If approved, the bill would mark a significant change in how medical cannabis is treated within the state of Washington healthcare facilities, particularly for patients facing terminal illness, you guys. Look at this. This is the first time I've seen a story like this ever, and I think this is just fantastic news and a great way to end on a hump day. What do y'all have to say about this?
Well, I'm assuming they're going to be limited to tinctures or edibles and things like that.
It said that. It said they're not going to allow for vaping or smoking, but I think that this is a great first step. This is like a Schedule 3 step. You know what I'm saying? This is a phenomenal, you know what I mean, foot in the door, you know, keep your foot in the crack so they can't close the door on your foot kind of thing. You know what I'm saying, Dale? And, you know, I just wonder now, is all of a sudden Washington State going to become the new Florida? Because everybody knows they call Florida heaven's doormat.
Well, I've worked in hospice before, and trust me, people were not lacking in weed. You just couldn't do it openly and notoriously. We put them in a wheelchair and take them out in the parking lot, let them burn one. So it's been going on for a long time. I'm happy to see that take some of the pressure off of the medical community, because the doctors would tell me as a corpsman, look, I can't do this, but take them for a walk out in the parking lot because they didn't want to get in trouble. And it's like, I'm a lowly corpsman. I'll do whatever the hell I need to do here because my patients puking their guts out and need to go smoke some weed.
Yep.
It's been going on. It's nice to get some recognition, remove some of the problems the doctors and nurses who are licensed face, because the government threatens their licenses all the time. That's how they keep them in line. And this sort of removes that problem. It doesn't take away the federal prescribing license problems if you get caught doing this, but it's a step in the right direction, as you said. And smoking inside of a room is a difficult, that's why you're not going to get a Schedule 3 smoke. Not going to happen because they just don't allow that. Hospitals aren't built with HVAC systems to suck it out. But if you can do some tincture under the tongue, give them a gummy, I guess you have to chart it yourself or hit the nurse and say, I just took 5 milliliters of tincture or a couple gummies or whatever just to document it. We never documented shit because they're dying. I mean, we could give them shots of morphine all day long whenever they wanted it. And if you're puking, we didn't have gummies in those days. It didn't exist back during the Vietnam War. You'd roll them out in the parking lot and burn one with them.
Yeah, right.
The statute of limitations is run, so I can be totally honest about this shit. This is what we did in the military. We had a problem, we fixed the problem. And the doctors covered for us. And if some tight-ass chief came walking around, the admiral in charge of our department told him to get the fuck out of here and leave us alone. That's how the military works. We fix problems.
And on that, we fix problems every day, and we got to get out of here, too. Shaun, do you have anything last words you'd like to say before we get out of here?
No, I think Dale got it. I think he covered it. Let's fix some problems, guys.
Let's fix some problems.
Fix some problems.
Yeah, I think this was a great story, a great thing all about being weed for the people. You know what I mean? This is a great way to end the show. You know what I mean? And I feel for people that are in that type of condition, and I want them to have all the access that they could possibly have. And so I think this is a fantastic story, and I hope more states adopt similar legislation after this. And shout out to Washington for being the leaders on trailblazing this legislation.
Yeah. And I will say, the more that we see these kinds of headlines and the fact, listen, whether he does something or not, the fact
he's going to do
President
it.
Trump,
he's going to do it. It's the win.
Whether he does or not, there's an indisputable reality that a few weeks ago, after the hemp ban, some banks were ending transactions for operators, and that's what we were learning on the ground. And with this rescheduling thing, I think you'll see the banks calm down. Everybody knows something is coming.
Don't count your chickens before they hatch, Shaun, because they're not going to have no DEA licenses to be able to get that. You know what I'm saying? Get that clearance.
That's for your cannabis. That's for your marijuana.
That's for a whole nother show.
But for your hemp operator, I do think either way, it's still going to slow things down.
We're going to see.
Slow down
time's going to tell.
The hesitation, because you don't end an industry just through enforcement. You end it by making it impossible.
You actually make the industry stronger by enforcement, technically, because then you just create more sprouts of create more. Yeah, you make it more innovative in that sense. But on that, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. And big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst Cannabis for helping us keep keep the lights on over here, and thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. And thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this every day, and thank you to Cloud Media Partners Elias and Gabriel. They're somewhere in the metaverse. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show, trademarked and patented.